Good evening, and welcome to the National Weather Association's 2021 Awards Celebration. Please welcome the NWA President, Nate Johnson.
It is good to see y'all here tonight. Good to see you in person. Good to see people that I don't live with all the time in person. It's been a long time. Entirely too long, in fact. I want to start by welcoming everybody here to the award celebration. We're gonna have a little fun tonight. There's still food outside. Please keep eating. When you're done eating, go get something else to eat, get something else to drink. Got the bar over here. Take care of our hotel folks tonight. Feel free to get up and walk around. Not gonna hurt my feelings one bit. But go ahead and enjoy yourselves. Of course, ask once you're done eating, once you're done drinking. Put the mask on, you know, it's what we got to do. I want to start off tonight by thanking, again, our sponsors of this meeting, without whom this affair, both in person and online, would not be possible. Our platinum sponsors this year, Barron, Critical Weather Intelligence. Want to give them a round of applause. Another platinum sponsor tonight is the Weather Company and IBM Business. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for your support. And the fine folks at Factor 110, also a platinum sponsor for us, and also a big part of how smoothly things have gone so far, especially online. Big round of applause for them. Also want to thank our other sponsors and our exhibitors, Midland Radio Corporation, Hazard Call, and the University of Oklahoma College of Agriculture and Geographic Sciences. Thank you for your support of the National Weather Association. I want to start off tonight talking about something that I think we'd all rather forget. This has been a tough year, without question. And in addition to all of the other things that have been going on, we lost a number of NWA members this year, and I just want to take a minute to comment on them and just to remember them for tonight. We have lost three members. We've lost more than that, but we've lost three key members, folks who had an integral role in the organization in the past. And I'd like to put their names up there. Bob Johns, Paul Emick, and Alan Johnson. And in addition to these three, I know that many of you have lost people, both at home and here. It's been a tough year. And before we move on, I just want to take a moment, have a moment of silence to give thanks for their lives and remember the contributions that they made to the NWA and these three and to the people in our hearts tonight. Let's take a moment of silence. Thank you. The challenges of this year, I don't need to remind anybody of this. I'm going to do it anyway. That's what you do. It's been a hell of a year. And I say that because unlike any other year that any of us has ever lived through collectively, this has challenged everything we know about everything we do. And I can't summarize it any better than to say that a trip to the grocery store for the last year and a half has been something that, quite frankly, was a life or death event for some people, still is for some people. But even for those of us for whom it's just something we got to do to get food, it required planning every single time. You think about how many times you thought about going to the grocery store before 18 months ago. You need something, you get in a car or you get on a bus and you go to the grocery store. Or you walk down to the neighborhood convenience store, the bodega, whatever. You get something to eat. You get your supplies, you go home. And then 18 months ago, this pandemic hit, and we had to start thinking about every little thing we did. And all of a sudden, going to the grocery store felt like doing a pre-flight on a 747 before you're going cross country with a checklist. What direction can I go? Do I need to have a mask? Does it need to be a double mask? Can I bring my kids or not? If I'm over 65, can I even go? Or are there special hours for me? Or are there special hours not, that I'm not supposed to go because I'm not over 65? Are things open or closed? Are we locked down? Can I be out after 11 o'clock? Are we working in the office? Are we doing weather from home? Do we even still have a job? Are we going to have a job tomorrow? Remote learning has been a challenge for a lot of us, both the kids and the adults. Do we mask up? Do we get the vaccine? Do we have crazy Uncle Bob? Can we get him to get the vaccine? Excuse me. Our case rates up and down, that sort of thing. It's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And yet, we rise. We are here, both in the room and in person and virtually. We keep showing up. We keep doing the work that we are called to do. And by called, I don't mean called by our paychecks or our bosses or our managers or our employers. We are called inside our hearts, in our higher power, to show up and do the work, to serve others. That's what we do. And we have done it. And we will continue to do it. But it's still exhausting. And I just want to acknowledge that before we go on to the celebration piece. Getting to this point has been a lot of work for a lot of people. And as Anzio talked about yesterday, for some people, it's more work than others. But I want to acknowledge that before we move on and really celebrate what we have done together over the last year and so far. I want to talk a little about the state and the National Weather Association a little bit, because this is our annual meeting. I want to talk a little bit about how we have, what we've done and how we've gotten here. And I want to start off with just some membership numbers, give you an idea of where we are as an organization. We currently have 1,821 members as of today. We checked just before the meeting. I know some of you here, both in person and online, registered and are attending the meeting, even though you're not a member. And I want to say thank you and welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I hope that what you've seen so far encourages you to join the NWA, be a part of us. I think we're doing some great stuff. You see the breakdown there, and this is very similar to years past, about a third broadcast, about a quarter government. The other half or so is spread amongst a number of groups, including emergency management, private sector. We got a number of retired members, academic, military. All of these people make up who the NWA is, and they make up not only our present, but our future. And I want to acknowledge the 1,821 folks who are members and encourage other folks to join us. One of the big programs that we run every year is the National Weather Association Television and Radio Seal of Approval Program. And it has been a really good year for SEAL applications and for SEALs that are awarded. And one of the privileges that I get to have as the president of the National Weather Association is to call people when they have won an award or when they have earned the SEAL. And that is the highlight of the job, to call somebody and give them good news. And in some cases, it's people who have, in a couple of cases, people who have tried multiple times and have gotten it on the second try, or they've come back and, sit through whatever, they go through the process. Those of you who are SEAL holders, you know what that process looks like. For those of you who aren't, it's a resume review. It's an exam you have to sit for. You have to have a proctored exam to document your knowledge. And then you have to take your work and have it critiqued by your peers. And they are unflinching. I reviewed, when I was on the SEAL panel, I reviewed more than 80 tapes back in the days when it was actually on tape, and then it eventually graduated CDs. Now it's web links. And having been on the receiving end of that, on the giving end of that, out of your respect for the applicant, it's a lot of constructive criticism. But it's a lot of criticism. It's a lot to open yourself up to. A lot of people have jumped in and done that. Last year, we had 17 applicants through the whole of 2020. This year, we're only through 8 months. We've already had 21 applicants, and we've awarded 6 SEALs so far, and there are others in the queue. I know of at least a couple that folks that are here waiting for their final resolution. So congratulations to the 6 folks who have earned those SEALs, and it's an earn. You're not given it, you earn it. Also want to talk a little bit about our Journal of Operational Meteorology. It's been a busy year. We've had a number of articles published, and on average, we have about 2,200 folks accessing different articles in a given month, which is great. It's a fantastic, that is one way of many, in addition to presenting at the conference, to doing webinars and other things. It is one other way that we can get your research and the work that you do out in front of our members and in front of other people. So really great work there. And amidst all of that, we got a hybrid meeting that we're dealing with. As of this afternoon, we have 502 registered attendees. I'm going to be honest, that's a little down from last year. We had 700 plus last year. This year, I think because of the uncertainty, because of COVID and everything else that we understand, but still 500 is a great year. It's above average for the last few years. It's in a great position. 125 of those folks are here with us in person, and that doesn't include exhibitors, vendors, staff from Factor 110 and from the National Weather Association. We had 377 people attending virtually, and 235 abstracts that were submitted total that we had to work through. So really excited about that. And online, we've had 522 people download the app. That's about what we expect. We've had so far more than 3,000 messages that have been posted or sent through the app, both private and community. We're not reading those messages. We just get a count of how many of them that are sent, not looking at your private emails. Not the NSA here. 66 community board topic posts as of this afternoon. So different board topics that you can go through in HOOVA. And if you're here in the room and you haven't jumped on HOOVA yet, or you're just looking at the agenda, there's a whole other meeting happening on HOOVA. You got to check it out. There's some good stuff happening. 182 pictures. We have 14 meetups that have been set up through the app, either here in Tulsa or elsewhere. And we've had more than 600 sponsor impressions. So really excited about what we're doing both with this hybrid meeting concept and how it's been executed this year. And I would say that if anything, we getting to this point started last year. And in fact, it started before the annual meeting last year, when COVID really started to settle in and the reality that an in-person meeting was going to be irresponsible at best and impossible at worst, or both. We got to the point where we had to make that decision, and we presented a number of people with a challenge in very short order to turn that in-person meeting and really to chart a path for something that we'd never done in this organization, had only been done a few times anywhere, to take an in-person meeting that had always been in person and turning it into something that was virtual. And I think it was very successful, although it wasn't comfortable. I don't know how many of you watch Ted Lasso on Apple TV. If you haven't, the language is a little salty. It's not for kids, but it is hilarious. And one of the things that Ted says is taking on a challenge is kind of like riding a horse. If it's comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong. And I can tell you, it was not comfortable for anybody involved, but especially for the folks that were chairing the annual meeting last year, the broadcast workshop. And I want to give a shout out real quick to Wendy Sellers, Matt Alto, and Betsy Kling, who are our chairs for last year for the annual meeting and for the workshop. I want to give them a shout out tonight for the work that they did that laid the groundwork for any success that we've seen so far this week and that we'll continue to see tomorrow. Let's give them a round of applause. I think so far this meeting's gone well. If you have any complaints, see me. If you have kudos, see the folks in the back. But if you got complaints, I haven't heard any, but I think it's gone well so far, as well as better than I could have expected given the circumstances. And I want to thank our annual meeting chairs this year, including Wendy Sellers, Sean Cable, Betsy Kling again for the workshop, the annual meeting committee, for all of the hard work that they've done to get us to this point. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Now, it's a hybrid meeting, never done this before. Some things I'm sure aren't up to snuff. Let us know, because I think, as I said last year at the end of the annual meeting, I think this is it's an opportunity for us to look forward and to re-envision and reimagine what our annual meeting might look like. Does it have to be sessions with PowerPoints, or does it, can we involve virtual people? There are people who are attending our meeting this year and who attended last year who would never be able to attend an in-person meeting for one reason or another. This is a great opportunity to welcome those folks in there. People presenting at our meetings in the last 2 years who would never be able to present otherwise for various reasons. And our meeting is better for that. And I want to keep that going, but we got to help. You need your help to figure out how to do that. So if you have suggestions, comments, or even criticism, constructive criticism, let us know. We want to know about it so that we can make it better for the future. I want to talk real quick about the theme for the meeting, connecting communities through discovery and service. And I think I was chewing on this starting last summer while I was sitting at my in-laws in West Texas when it was even hotter there than it is here this week. And I'm not sure that I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. I'm not sure that I could have come up with anything better than that this year, because Lord knows we need to connect our communities. I think Anzio pointed out really well, we're better together than we are apart. We're better working together and across our different disciplines of the weather enterprise than we are working in silos. And I think some of the presentations we've seen this year, both in posters and online and here in person, I think are great evidence of that. But we have to recognize that some of our communities never got connected in the first place. We got to reach out to those communities, make sure that they are getting the flow of benefits back and forth that many of us in this room enjoy. We got to make sure that all of our communities all across the country benefit from the work that we do with the National Weather Association, with the National Weather Service, and elsewhere, and television and everything. We got to make sure that we're bringing those folks into the fold and that they get the benefit, and that we're always keeping in mind that we have to meet people where they are. One of the things that Anzio pointed out yesterday was, you know, he's got the wherewithal to go to Lowe's and buy a hurricane kit. Maybe not everybody has that. And that sort of plays out through so many different aspects of our lives, to recognize that we may have blessings, we may have worked hard for things. Other people have worked just as hard, may not have as much, and may not be in that position. We got to make sure that we're reaching out and that we're bringing those folks with us. Discovery, has it ever been more important? I mean, I think I can have everybody raise their hand, because all of you have had a vaccine that is protecting you from hospitalization and death from this pandemic. That was the result of years and years of discovery, of scientific work. And we like to think that breakthroughs happen and they happen quickly. And sometimes they do, but most of the time they're the result of a lot of work, of a lot of just pounding at the door, constantly weakening the door until we bust through. But just as important are the day-to-day work that we all do over the course of our lifetimes, of the course of our careers. And the area under that curve, a lot of times, is even more than the area under the curve of a single breakthrough. And we have to keep working at that and make sure that we are continuing to push our curve forward so that the area under our curve goes as long as it can, so that we can contribute and add up to that over time. And as Carrie pointed out this morning, I'm a total fanboy on this. This was awesome. We're exploring the weather on another planet. How cool is that? And I go back to something that I remember, I think, from Star Trek, when we explore about other places and other peoples to learn more about ourselves and the place that we live. That's just one reason why that's important. But it's important to continue to push ourselves forward, and that discovery aspect is huge. But none of it matters unless we do it in service to others. In some cases, service is in our very name. If you work for the National Weather Service, it's in your name. For my broadcast brethren and sisters in here, it is in your license, because you are licensed to operate as a public service in the public interest. It is at the heart of what we do. And I think it fits. And when you're doing things and you're oriented in the right way, when you do things oriented towards serving others, that's when what we do finds its fulfillment. And it does that because that is in our nature. That is what we are called to do, is to serve others. And when we do that, when we do it well, when we do it from the heart, it's not work. We go to work sometimes it's not fun, but we do it because we love what we do and we love serving other people. When we do things from that position, that's when our work finds its highest fulfillment. And so I'm going to leave you, before we hand it off to Greg Carbon, I want to leave you with this challenge. How can you take your gifts, your talents, your skills, the things that you in many cases either were born with or you had to work really hard to earn, or both? But how do you take those things that you have and further our science, further our understanding of the planet, further our ability to forecast the weather, further our ability to explore the weather on other planets, whatever it may be. How do you take that, and how are you going to take that today and serve other people? Because that is where we find our fulfillment. One guy who serves this organization every year by giving us his top 10 is Greg Carbon from the Weather Prediction Center. And so we're going to invite him on to give us his rendition of the top 10. And then we're going to move on into the awards program, which I am totally stoked about. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Now, here to share the top weather events of 2021 is Chief of the Forecast Operations Branch at NOAA, National Weather Service, Greg Carbon.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Nate, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation and speech. Here we are again, another annual meeting, another review of some of the meteorological memories of the past year. By now, most of you should know the rules, but just in case, here's a rundown. These are my memories, presented generally in chronological order, not ranked. I've been doing the talks for almost 2 decades, and I thank the NWA Program Committee for always finding a place for me to present this talk. Like every year, 2021 was filled with exciting storms, from hurricanes to floods to tornadoes, also very impactful storms as well. Each year I try to fit each of these into the talk. I'm interested in all types of extreme weather, not trying to be too partial to any particular type or region. That's sometimes a challenge, but it's a labor of love, and thank you for attending this evening. If you have a favorite beverage, you might want to join along in a tradition we started a few years ago. Tonight's word is prolific. I don't think you'll hear it that often, but if you've got something to sip on, prolific is the word to sip on. And that's just seltzer. So let's start with number 1. In 2021, the cold wave that occurred across the central United States in mid-February has preliminary damage losses in excess of $10 billion. Texas experienced the majority of these losses, with costly impacts occurring in more than a dozen additional states across the region. This event is the most costly winter storm on record for the US, and here's a partial timeline of events, starting with the dramatic Dallas area car accidents following the immediate passage of the Arctic front on February 11th. At the same time, the cold air spread westward into coastal locations of the Pacific Northwest, where a major ice storm impacted parts of Oregon on the 12th and the 13th, and Seattle had its snowiest day since the late 1960s on the 13th. Back in the plains, Oklahoma City picked up half a foot of snow with high temperatures not even in the teens on Valentine's Day. Hundreds of daily low temperature records were set in subsequent days across much of the southern plains, and additional incredible snowfall amounts occurred across Texas to Arkansas, as multiple disturbances tracked across the dome of Arctic air anchored over the south. The prolonged Arctic air caused widespread power outages in Texas as well as other southern states, with multiple days of sustained below freezing temperatures. Electrical generation literally froze up, coincident with skyrocketing demand. At the peak of the outages, nearly 10 million people were without power. Additional impacts were frozen water pipes, which burst upon thawing, causing water damage to buildings. These extreme conditions also caused or contributed to the deaths of over 125 people in Texas alone. So here are the 24-hour temperature summary maps I put together from the NWS unrestricted mesoscale analysis grids. These are mean temperatures for the 24 hours in Central Time over Texas, and each day is shown in the upper left of each map. What struck me about this analysis was the mean temperature of around 12 degrees on Monday, February 15th. That's just an insanely low mean temperature for such a large state at this latitude, even in February. The chill began to ease by February 20th, when the mean temperature across all but the extreme eastern panhandle rose above freezing, in some locations for the first time in 10 days. Number 2 for 2021, the March 13th, 14th strong storm system that brought heavy snowfall to the central Rockies and adjacent high plains. Denver measures its 4th largest snowstorm on record, while Cheyenne reported its heaviest multi-day snowstorm on record. Blizzard conditions and heavy snow rates disrupted transportation across the region. This is a loop of the summary of precipitation over 24 hours for snow and for rain. So you can see kind of the color scale differences there for where it was measured as snow versus where it was coming down as rain. From the WPC event review for this storm, treacherous travel conditions were observed as far west as Arizona on Sunday morning, with several crashes and lane closures due to icy roads. Whiteout conditions and pictures of towering snowdrifts were frequently reported by local TV stations through various social media channels. In fact, on the evening of March 14th, the NWS Cheyenne office measured snowdrifts at an astonishing 5 to 10 feet tall. Wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour and snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour made for zero visibility blizzard conditions. Denver International Airport reported just over 27 inches of snow for the duration of the storm, making it the 4th largest snowstorm in Denver dating back to 1881. Farther south, Cheyenne, Wyoming reported almost 31 inches. About 23 inches of that fell on March 14th, making Cheyenne's single snowiest day on record. The March snowstorm became the 4th snowiest on record in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, where a 3-day total of 18 inches was reported. The last time Scottsbluff picked up more than 18 inches of snow in 3 days was April 1927. The highest reported snowfall in Wyoming came near Windy Peak, located along the Laramie Range, with an incredible 52.5 inches. The highest reported snowfall in Colorado was near Buckhorn Mountain, where over 48.5 inches of snow accumulated. Over 2 feet of snow piled up in parts of western Nebraska, southwest South Dakota, and eastern Utah. Quite a prolific snowstorm. Number 3. Oh, I didn't follow my own rule. Number 3, 2 tornado outbreaks occurred 8 days apart in the South. In Alabama, 25 distinct tornadoes were surveyed after March 17th, making it the 6th most prolific, oh, there we are again, tornado outbreak in the state's history since 1950. About a dozen tornadoes hit very close to the same areas a little over a week later. This included 4 EF3 tornadoes, 3 EF2 tornadoes, and 3 EF1 tornadoes. Damage was significant along the paths of the most intense tornado, and unfortunately, some injuries and fatalities occurred. Note the similarities in the report locations, especially across Alabama, and the very similar surface maps more than a week apart. The most stunning tornado of the event was on the 25th, a long track 80-mile tornado on the ground for 98 minutes from Hale County to Shelby County, Alabama. This was the 7th longest track single tornado recorded in the state of Alabama since records began. Another similarity between the two events was the location covered by the SPC Day 1 high risk. After no high risk areas were issued for any day in 2020, the high risk on March 17th was the first since May of 2019. And that's not the longest span between high risks. That occurred in June of 2014 between June of 2014 and January 2017, for those of you keeping score at home. On to number 4. Unfortunately, this is all too real from just recent days, but this was back in March. A historic flash flood event occurred across portions of Middle Tennessee, and hopefully you're seeing the radar loop on your screens. A warm front had moved north into Middle Tennessee on March 27th, stalling near I-40. And between 3 and 4 in the morning, numerous showers and thunderstorms developed along that front, and the activity produced some hail, frequent lightning, and heavy rainfall. Showers and storms continued on and off for the rest of the day over the region, particularly near that stalled warm front. Another round of storms, including a few supercells, developed in the afternoon and evening near and south of the warm front. Additional heavy rainfall resulted in flash flooding south of Nashville. Flooding only worsened as showers and storms redeveloped over the same areas through the evening. After midnight, even more heavy rainfall along the already waterlogged I-40 corridor prompted rare flash flood emergency for the southern and eastern Nashville metro area. Rainfall between 7 and 9 inches caused rapid rises on several Nashville creeks, including 7 Mile Creek, and many creeks reached their 2nd and 3rd highest water levels ever recorded. The rapid water rises flooded hundreds of homes and businesses, with reports of some people trapped in the attics or on roofs of their houses. Dozens of roadways were flooded, including both I-24 and I-40. Many cars submerged in the floodwaters and forced people to cling to trees to avoid getting swept away. Although the lowland floodwaters receded quickly on Sunday, March 28th, many rivers later reached flood stage up to a week after this event. Six deaths were reported from the flooding across Middle Tennessee. Emergency management reported over 500 homes and businesses were flooded. And this flash flood event was the worst in Middle Tennessee since the 2010 event in early May. Here's the radar estimated rainfall and a plot of the flash flood reports across Tennessee for this event. Unfortunately, it does appear the Waverly, Tennessee flash flood may go into the books as another catastrophic event for this same region. On to number 5. Here are a couple of snapshots of drought conditions across the contiguous United States from the start of the calendar year to just a few weeks ago. While there's been some recent improvement to conditions across the parked Southwest due to thunderstorms fueled by monsoon moisture, overall the drought has worsened considerably from California to the northern Rockies and across the northern plains. Clearly, the numerous heat waves across the West have exacerbated the drought conditions in these areas and have also led to some of the worst fire weather and smoke conditions ever experienced in some locations. This plot shows the long-term time series of coverage of drought categories over the Western United States. It's pretty dramatic how the exceptional drought category, the most extreme, has expanded in 2021 and now appears to cover more of the West than at any time over the last 20 years. The Dixie Fire in Northern California has scorched hundreds of thousands of acres, making it the second largest fire in the state's history. Fires in the western half of the contiguous United States, including Colorado and Wyoming, have burned on average 30 square miles every day since June, an area approaching half the size of Washington, D.C. every day. With the exception of some relief in the Southwest, the situation is quite dire, and we're only now moving into the normally active fire weather season across the West. Let's hope things slow down. Number 6, I'm kind of deviating from the chronological flow of the presentation here to hit reverse and look back on June and ask, where have all the SPC tornado watches go? They're gone. 2021 was the 3rd year in a row with very few tornado watches in June. In fact, with only 10 tornado watches, June 2021 ties with June 1988 for the 3rd fewest tornado watches on record, approximately 25% of the normal number of watches. Even more interesting is that this is the 3rd year in a row with a record low number of watches. What is going on? Well, according to SPC's daily tornado climatology, June tornadoes are typically found roaming around the high plains with a slight extension east across the Corn Belt and Midwest. In a very crude use of reanalysis data, I decided to run a quick calculation on the change in 500 millibar scalar wind speeds across the US between the most recent decade and the decades of the 1990s, when some of the most prolific June tornado events occurred. That word appears more than I thought. So I also looked at the change in 700 millibar temperatures between the Junes of these 2 decades. The hypothesis being that we should see some decrease in the mid-level wind speeds, meaning lower shear, and perhaps a slight increase in 700 millibar temperatures, meaning a stronger capping inversion that could inhibit deep convection. Well, here's the NCAR NCEP reanalysis plotter. It does seem to appear there have been small changes in these 2 atmospheric proxies for shear and instability. I'm sure it's likely far more complex than what I'm leading here, but as a first look, the capping may be getting stronger as the shear gets weaker across at least some of those areas where tornadoes have been favored in the past. Further review of shifting seasonal centroids for severe weather events, especially tornado events, will be needed before we can say with any confidence there's a trend here. But at least over the past 3 years, tornadoes, or more correctly, tornado watches, have become a rather rare occurrence during the month of June. Also occurring in June, memory number 7 here, an incredibly hot few days at the end of the month over the Pacific Northwest. Just look at some of these numbers, and I apologize for the small font if you can't see that, but basically the numbers showing up here on the plot are all-time maximum temperature records for any calendar day. It's quite remarkable for these temperature records to occur in June. Even more remarkable, some locations obliterated their previous all-time records, usually set in July or August, by more than 10 degrees, and quite incredible that in the majority of cases, the prior all-time record maximum temperatures had only been set a day earlier. This may be one of the most unusual weather events of this year and was brought about by a large area of high pressure with anomalously high heights across the Northwest and extending into western portions of North America. The intense subsidence that extended well into Western Canada even set all-time high temperature records there. Again, using the unrestricted mesoscale analysis, it was interesting to note that not only were the temperatures incredibly hot and uncomfortable for some regions without a lot of air conditioning, those highs lasted for hours on end in some locations. Here's a look at the number of hours for each day when the NWS unrestricted analysis showed hourly temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. By the third day of the heat wave on June 28th, some parts of interior Washington and northern Oregon were seeing temperatures over 100 degrees for more than 8 to 12 consecutive hours. That's just incredible and also incredibly deadly. There are estimates of over 500 fatalities resulting from this heat wave at the end of June. Going to combine events here with number 8, Tropical Storm Claudette produced gusty winds, flash flooding, and tornadoes over much of the southeast U.S. during the 3rd and 4th weeks of June. Impacts were most severe in Alabama and Mississippi, where heavy rains caused flash flooding. The map on the left depicts the 4-day rainfall from Claudette, which moved north from the Gulf of Mexico as a potential tropical cyclone and made landfall as a weak tropical storm in Louisiana on the 19th. Extreme southern Mississippi recorded up to 11 inches of rainfall, and southeastern Louisiana accumulated more than 9 inches. Several tornadoes in the southeast states also caused severe damage, including an EF2 tornado that damaged a school and destroyed parts of a mobile home park in southern Alabama, injuring 20 people. A weakened Claudette continued on an east-northeast track and prompted additional tropical storm watches and warnings from near Cape Fear, North Carolina to the Outer Banks. Claudette regained tropical storm status over northeast North Carolina on June 21st before moving over the western Atlantic and weakening. Hurricane Elsa was the earliest hurricane in the Caribbean Sea and the earliest forming 5th named storm on record in the Atlantic Ocean, surpassing Edward in 2020. The first hurricane of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, Elsa first was monitored by the National Hurricane Center as a tropical wave on June 29th and was designated a potential tropical cyclone on the 30th. Elsa was upgraded to a tropical storm on July 1st, and on July 2nd, Elsa was upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane after undergoing some rapid intensification. However, landfall over Cuba reduced Elsa back to a tropical storm on July 5th, and then Elsa briefly regained hurricane status during the evening hours of July 6th west of Florida before making landfall as a tropical storm near Florida's Big Bend on July 7th. After landfall, Elsa began accelerating northeast and became extratropical on July 9th, but not before also producing a stripe of heavier rainfall, strong winds, minor surge flooding, and several tornadoes from the mid-Atlantic to southern New England. So this always happens. We've run out of time. I think I've got 16 minutes, maybe 17 minutes here, but I'm never out of memories. And especially this year, you know, the summer meetings make it difficult to come up with 10 events in any year. So we're going to leave events number 9 and 10. I think some of you might already know by some of these pictures what they could be, but no decision yet on memories number 9 and 10. Obviously, we just finished up with the tropical storm in the Northeast. And of course, I mentioned the devastating and unfortunate flooding in Waverly, Tennessee, struggling mightily after that flooding just a few days ago. And of course, the West still having trouble with wildfires. So as I've done in the past, I'll leave these 2 memories open for now, and we can revisit those next year before moving on to 2022 meteorological memories. Here's the summary slide for this year's presentation. Thanks so much. I wish I could be there in person. Better luck next year. Stay well, stay safe, all the best, and have a great National Weather Association annual meeting. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Laura Pagano, and I will be your host for the 2021 NWA Awards celebration. I, on behalf of the NWA, wholeheartedly welcome all of you. It is a matter of great honor and pleasure to recognize and reward the hard work accomplished by many within the weather community. The NWA believes in encouraging individuals, teams, and organizations, which includes professionals as well as volunteers, whose outstanding efforts in operational meteorology and related sciences deserve special recognition. Before we begin, I would like to thank the awards committee for their hard work throughout the entire year, not only honoring these hardworking individuals receiving awards today, but also their steadfast commitment to improving the NWA nomination and awards process. I would like to also thank Factor 110 for not only producing, but recording this ceremony. No matter what obstacles we face as a society, the NWA will always make it a priority to shine a light on the prominent achievements within our weather community. So without further ado, here are this year's NWA Award winners presented by their respective nominators.
Presenting the Operational Achievement Group Award is the meteorologist in charge at National Weather Service WFO, Jacksonville, Florida, Scott Cordero.
Hello, everyone. This is Scott Cordero with the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, Florida. And I want to thank the National Weather Association Awards Committee for recognizing two gentlemen, ARIEL COHEN and also Pete Wolf. Pete Wolf is from the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, Florida, and ARIEL COHEN is the meteorologist in charge in Pueblo, Colorado. And both gentlemen are recognized for developing a fantastic course with 8 individuals from all different regions across the National Weather Service, and including the Storm Prediction Center. Both gentlemen spearheaded a course that would normally take about 2 to 3 years to develop, and they took it a matter of 8 months, developing unique video training pertaining to the mesoscale environment and how the near storm environment could change over a matter of a few hours up to 6 hours, and help develop messaging threats for our community and also for our media partners as well. And so without further ado, I want to thank the NWA Awards Committee and pass the baton here in terms of recognition for both Pete and ARIEL for this award, for their Operational Achievement Award through the National Weather Association.
It is an honor for both myself and Pete Wolf to accept the Operational Achievement Group Award for our contributions in an area so important to us, both professionally and personally. Growing up in Columbus, Ohio, I remember my deep fascination with severe thunderstorms extending all the way back to my early childhood, and I vividly recall learning about the destructive impacts from the 1974 Xenia F5 tornado. While I realized at a very early age that we can't exert much control on the weather, I had some idea that we are partly in control of the outcome. It was always a dream of mine and Pete's to push ourselves and encourage our field to reach as far as we can to better anticipate and proactively assess forthcoming severe weather hazards. This is what it takes to support a weather-ready nation, not a weather-reactive nation. Through the many workshops, activities, and courses that Pete and I have developed during the past few years, we have had the tremendous opportunity to share our passion for mesoanalysis through providing experiential education, ultimately illustrating how mesoanalysis enables significant enhancements to impact-based decision support services through providing more complete and detailed convective threat assessment and messaging. It is nothing short of a lifelong dream come true for both of us to help empower our field to apply the conceptual understanding and observational analysis of mesoscale meteorology and anticipate the details of reasonable outcomes of what the radar might look like in, say, an hour or two from now, and communicate what type of impacts our society should prepare for from related hazards. Pete and I are indebted to our families and coworkers for all of their support for us to pursue our dreams and for playing our part to support a weather-ready nation. Thank you.
Presenting the next Operational Achievement Group Award is the Sciences and Operations Officer at National Weather Service, WFO, Boulder, Colorado, and 2019 NWA President, Paul Schlatter.
2020 was a historic fire season, especially for Colorado and the area that the WFO Boulder serves. There were 6 fires burning at the same time in October, including the largest fire in Colorado history. Throughout the late summer and fall, WFO Boulder staff did a fantastic job delivering forecasts and DSS to incident meteorologists and core partners, all in the backdrop of COVID restrictions. The forecasts were accurate, the DSS provided went above and beyond their normal duties. They provided hours of critical lead time to emergency management and incident command posts all across the fires shown on the slide, resulting in smooth evacuations and safe operations for thousands of firefighters. It was certainly a challenging time for the staff, especially on October 21, when the East Troublesome Fire exploded, spreading 87,000 acres in just a few hours and prompting immediate evacuations for thousands of residents in Grant County. So I'm honored to announce that for life-saving proactive actions and DSS to IMETs and countless core partners during the historic wildfire season of 2020 in north central Colorado, our next recipient of the Operational Achievement Group Award is NWS Boulder.
On behalf of the entire staff at the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Boulder, Colorado, I proudly accept the NWA Operational Group Achievement Award. In 2020, we had a devastating wildfire season in Colorado, and our office provided support for over 100 consecutive days for incident meteorologists and fire weather partners throughout the summer and fall, while providing our normal forecasts and warnings for the county warning area. Now in 2021, we are providing support, forecasts, and warnings for the inevitable flash floods and debris flows that occur on these burned areas. And it is a tremendous effort on the part of our staff. I'd also like to acknowledge the incident meteorologists that often leave their families for weeks at a time in bed with the incident management teams and provide exemplary service and forecasts to help get the wildfires under control while keeping people safe. Once again, thank you, NWA, for this award.
Presenting the Aviation Meteorology Award is the Director of NOAA Global Systems Laboratory, Jennifer Mahoney.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Mahoney, and I'm the Director of the Global Systems Laboratory. And I have the honor to present the Aviation Meteorology Award from the National Weather Association. And this award is presented to an individual or group to recognize significant contributions to aviation meteorology, such as impact of operational forecasts on aviation operations, or advances in aviation meteorology, including research in detection and forecasting of aviation hazards. So I am proud to present this award to NOAA's Global Systems Laboratory, Assimilation and Verification Innovation Division for developing and delivering the first convective allowing hourly updated weather model that provides guidance for in-flight icing, convective weather, cloud ceilings, visibility, and other hazards that impact aviation safety and efficiency. Congratulations, team. I am so proud of you.
I'm Tara Ladwig, Data Assimilation Branch Chief within the Assimilation and Verification Innovation Division. It's a great privilege to accept this award on behalf of the HER team at GSL. I want to thank all of you and the whole NWA organization for this award. The outstanding reputation of NWA in supporting and promoting excellence in operational meteorology makes this recognition a great honor for GSL. I need to thank all of the GSL HER team that are a part of this achievement. The team consists of many contributors that have completed innovative investigations for the HER's data assimilation and model physics, as well as many other essential components, including observation processing, model diagnostic field generation, and forecast verification. Unfortunately, I don't have time to list all of the essential team members, but I do want to show special appreciation for a few. Starting with Curtis Alexander, who has led the HER team from the beginning. Ming Hu, without him, the technical transition to operations would not have been successful. Ravon Amadoff, Trevor Alcott, Stan Benjamin, John Brown, David Dowell, Eric James, James Kenyon, Joel Olson, Tanya Smirnova, and Steve Wygant, who have been key contributors. I also need to thank members of the HER team that extend beyond GSL, including our colleagues within NOAA, like the Environmental Modeling Center team that made the operational transition to NCEP possible, and the national centers like the Aviation Weather Center for their feedback and evaluations. Additionally, the broader weather enterprise deserves some credit for the state-of-the-art science and technology within the HER, specifically the National Center for Atmospheric Research, along with other university partners. And finally, the groups that have supported the HER development, like the FAA's Aviation Weather Research Program. The GSL team looks forward to continued contributions to aviation forecasting via our new development for the Rapid Refresh Forecast System, RUFUS. So thank you again for this great honor.
Presenting the Dr. T. Theodore Fujita Research Achievement Award is the National Severe Storms Laboratory Director, Jack Kane.
Hi, I'm Jack Kane, the Director of the National Severe Storms Laboratory in Norman, Oklahoma. The Dr. Ted Fujita Research Achievement Award is presented to an NWA member whose research has made a significant contribution to operational meteorology. I'm pleased to recognize this year's recipient, Dr. Pamela HEINSELMAN, for her outstanding leadership of the NOAA National Severe Storms Laboratory Warn on Forecast Research and Development Program, particularly her work in developing collaborations with the operational community that have strengthened the research to operations and operations to research pipelines. Congratulations, Pam.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, the National Weather Association, for this prestigious award. I am so humbled to have received it. I've seen so many people come before me and never thought that I would be in this place. It is an honor. The type of research we're talking about today associated with this award involving research to operations and operations to research is really where I've spent most of the time in my career. And this Warn on Forecast project is one of the most exciting ones I've ever worked on. And the success that we're celebrating today is really because of all the smart and wonderful people that I have worked with, both at the National Severe Storms Laboratory, at other universities, as well as all the users who put in time and effort to provide their feedback. And those include forecasters from the Weather Forecast Office, Storm Prediction Center, and the Weather Prediction Center. Thank you again.
Presenting the Larry R. Johnson Special Award is Chief Learning Officer at the National Weather Service, John Ogren.
The Larry R. Johnson Special Award is presented to an individual or group to recognize unique events or extraordinary accomplishments which significantly contribute to operational meteorology. This team is being recognized for providing an innovative solution to continue training National Weather Service operational meteorologists during the COVID-19 pandemic with their cloud-based warning decision-making workshops. The recipient of this award is the National Weather Service's Warning Decision Training Division in Norman, Oklahoma. Congratulations, team.
I am grateful to accept the Larry R. Johnson Award on behalf of the Warning Decision Training Division. Our signature activity here is the Radar and Applications course and the workshop, our longest running in-person immersive warning experience that we've got. And it's the cornerstone for all our warning forecasters to get through as they embark on their career in the Weather Service. Well, that all changed in 2020 when COVID hit. We couldn't teach this most valuable workshop, but we had to. There was no failure as an option. And our team amazingly came up with a solution. And we managed to preserve the essential parts of the workshop and to keep the NWS warning forecaster skills up and sharp. We all pitched into this effort. My colleagues like Dale, Eric, Mike, Stephanie, and Sarah made the cloud-based simulators possible. Jill, Melissa, and Barb worked solutions from communicating with our students to organizing us instructors. That's not easy to do sometimes. Chris scheduled our development and workshop schedules, and Bobby coordinated the radar applications course. And everyone stress tested the RIC in the cloud to ensure a successful experience for our students. We had a lot of tense moments though, when we faced roadblocks. Our meetings were sometimes a bit testy because we had challenges to overcome, but we always got through together. And always we were thinking of the mission. Well, hopefully we'll bring the students back, but what made and what we did make here will carry us forward and develop new ways of training.
Presenting the Walter J. Bennett Public Service Award is the Warning Coordination Meteorologist at National Weather Service, WFO, El Paso, Texas, Jason Laney.
Hello, my name is Jason Laney, and I'm the Warning Coordination Meteorologist for the National Weather Service in El Paso, Texas, and I'm here today to help present the Walter J. Bennett Public Service Award, which is presented to an individual or organization directly assisting the meteorological community in providing weather-related information to the public. For his role in supporting and educating underserved and vulnerable citizens in heat risk, safety, and mitigation efforts due to heat-related hazards right here in the borderland, we're proud to honor Fernando BERJANO.
I'm Fernando Liani, Sustainability Coordinator for the City of El Paso in Texas. First, I want to thank the National Weather Association for this award. I'm honored and very grateful to receive the Walter J. Bennett Public Service Award. In 2020, last year, we were able to participate in NOAA's Urban Heat Island campaign run by NIHHIS, with urban heat maps for El Paso as the outcome of that project. Urban heat mitigation is a collaborative effort in El Paso. We want to implement and design projects and programs that help the community address extreme heat, and in particular, actions for the most vulnerable, the elder, kids, low-income residents, and mixed-status households. Using a survey, we're currently gathering input on heat impacts and perceptions at the household level from the community. The results will be presented in a community-wide workshop this coming fall. With probably longer, hotter, and drier summers in the horizon, we, as a community, are committed to continue our extreme heat work in the El Paso region. I want to thank all our community partners, the 40 data collection campaign volunteers, the Center for Inter-American and Border Studies from the University of Texas at El Paso, EPA's Border 2020 program, the North American Development Bank, all neighborhood associations, the National Weather Service Office at El Paso, Santa Teresa, ECOL Paso, the City of Las Cruces in New Mexico, and the AmeriCorps Vista Senior Programs. I want to end up my comments remembering Professor Patricia Juarez Carrillo from the Center of Inter-American and Border Studies. Patricia recently passed away, and she was instrumental during all this process, and a true example of commitment and dedication to the border community. I am forever grateful to have been able to get to know her and work with her. Thank you.
Presenting the Public Education Award is the Executive Director at the Oklahoma Mesonet, Christopher Fiebrick.
The Public Education Award is presented to an individual or organization providing significant contributions to increase the public's weather awareness. Our winner earned this award for his 10 years of leadership of the OK First program, including the direct training of thousands of safety officials, as well as ensuring access to critical real-time weather data for decision-making. This year's recipient is James HOCKER.
Hi everyone, my name is James HOCKER. I'm the Program Manager for the Oklahoma Mesonet's OK First program. It's truly an honor to be receiving the National Weather Association Public Education Award this year. Thank you to my colleague, Dr. Chris Fiebrick, for nominating me, and to the NWA Awards Committee for recognizing the training efforts that myself and numerous colleagues at the Oklahoma Mesonet have been involved with for many years. I would like to thank several National Weather Service offices who have been key contributors to OK First training over the years, including the Tulsa Weather Forecast Office, the Norman Weather Forecast Office, the Storm Prediction Center, and the Warning Decision Training Division. Last but not least, thank you to the amazing community of public safety officials across Oklahoma and our neighboring areas for many wonderful years of partnership, collaboration, and friendship. You are the unsung heroes behind the scenes working tirelessly to ensure the safety of our communities. Thank you for putting trust in us to provide you with training and data for managing high-impact events. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your conference.
Presenting the Broadcaster of the Year Award is WTVF News Channel 5 meteorologist Henry Rothenberg.
The Broadcaster of the Year Award is presented to an NWA member, radio or television weathercaster, or member of the broadcast media whose activities have significantly contributed to the development and presentation of weather information to the public service. For her tireless efforts giving back to NWA, leading the way in fundraising for NWA, critiquing and teaching aspiring meteorologists by hosting critique sessions with students in attendance, and her leadership in the Cleveland community, speaking to countless schools, civic groups, spearheading events such as 3 News Weather Education Day with the Cleveland Indians, and her STEM initiative, Growing Curiosity. I am honored to present this year's Broadcaster of the Year Award to Betsy Kling.
Well, the good news is that since this is pre-recorded, you don't have to deal with me crying. So the tears have dried after the shock wore off that I've been named Broadcaster of the Year. Thank you so much. This organization means everything to me. I love the National Weather Association. I attended my first meeting in 2000, and I've been to every meeting afterward. As a matter of fact, my 13-year-old daughter is running around here, and she was a wee little baby at the meeting in Louisville in 2008. So a lot of people remember that. We just have so many memories together and so many fun stories, so many crazy stories, and so many incredible people that we have become networked with. We, and I do mean all of us, because once you are a part of this organization, you realize just how amazing it is and how amazing your fellow meteorologists are too. So to all of you who have been so accepting of me and dealing with me in raffle tickets and all kinds of crazy stories that we have, I can't thank you all enough. To be named as Broadcaster of the Year is just incredible. I am truly grateful and I am so very humbled. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Presenting the Local Chapter Award is the meteorologist in charge at National Weather Service, CWSU, Indianapolis, Mindy Behrens.
The Local Chapter Award is presented to the local chapter of the NWA whose activities have significantly increased awareness of the weather and of the NWA in the local area. For excellence in outreach to the citizens of Iowa and beyond, mentoring of undergraduate students, funding undergraduate scholarships, hosting professional development workshops, and the sharing of science through the Severe Storms and Doppler Radar Conference. We are proud to recognize the Central Iowa chapter of the NWA.
Thank you. On behalf of the Central Iowa chapter of the National Weather Association, thank you for selecting our chapter for this prestigious award. Personally, it's truly an honor to accept the NWA Chapter of the Year Award, but it wouldn't have been possible without the amazing, dedicated, and hard-working members of our local chapter. They are the true winners here. I'm just fortunate enough to be president. For those unfamiliar with the Central Iowa chapter of the NWA, we were established in the mid-1990s, and since then the chapter has hosted the Severe Storms and Doppler Radar Conference. For the past 25 years, hydrologists, meteorologists, and just weather enthusiasts have come together each year from around the weather enterprise to discuss weather. The primary goal is to not only learn what's new in research and to hear experiences from significant weather events, but to raise money for our 2 scholarships that we present to students each year. Since 2005, when the Pam Dale Scholarship originated, and since 2017, when we formed the Tim Samara Scholarship, we've provided over $30,000 in scholarships to deserving meteorology students. So thank you to all that have attended or presented in the past. There's no question without your contribution, the conference and scholarships would not exist. And lastly, I want to acknowledge some of the team members that spearheaded this past year's symposium and scholarship. We had many obstacles to overcome and decisions to make, and without their leadership and dedication to the chapter's mission, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you to John Thielen, Dr. Bill Gallus, Rod Donovan, Mike Fowle, Claire Womack, Dave Flory, Mike Cox, Vice President Alan Curtis, Secretary Trey Fulbright, and Treasurer Alex Krull. And once again, thank you, and we'll see you next spring in Iowa.
In the words of Steve Jobs, one last thing. Before we get to the Member of the Year award, I would have to tell a story. As I mentioned earlier, the president of the NWA gets to make phone calls to alert the folks who have won most of the awards, with the exception of Member of the Year, that they have won the award. Most of the time, you know, there's a phone number, you call them, they answer, you know, great, or you leave a message, I'm calling on behalf of the NWA, they call you back, you tell them it's great, it's wonderful. Two of them stand out. Number one, Betsy, because you want to know how much this association and that award means to her. That was a fun call to make. And it's so fun. But the other one that I have to call out was Pam HEINSELMAN. Could not get a hold of her because of the pandemic, what had not come into the office. I'm calling cell phone numbers, I'm calling office numbers, I'm leaving messages. Finally, I have to send an email to her and say, hey, I'm calling because I want to know a little bit more about this project you've been working on. Do you have 15 minutes to sort of walk me through it? And so she said, great, you know, so we finally get a hold of her. We finally set that up. And I call her, we have a video call. She walks me through a good 15-minute sort of summary of what she's doing. And I'm just sitting here going, this is great. And then I say, that is fantastic. And that is so fantastic that you've won the NWA award for it. And it was a lot of fun just to sort of, for one, to learn even more about that than just the little blurb that you get. But again, like Betsy, you could tell that the award really meant something to her. So that's really cool. I want to invite the couple of in-person folks who are here, Betsy, Jim Ledoux, for y'all to come up, and ARIEL Cohen to come up, because we do want to take some pictures at the end of this, so don't run out. Before we get to the Member of the Year, I also want to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to Janice Bunting and Dr. Nicole Van Every, who are the people in the last few years. Those of you who've been on the board or who've been committee chairs or have been plugged into the NWA leadership for the last little bit, you know that we've been going through really a maturation process over the last few years, getting permanent headquarters, hiring a full-time executive director. All these things are sort of natural outgrowth of the maturation of this organization, while still retaining the family feel that we have when we come to these annual meetings. It still feels like a family reunion, even when you've got 500 or 600 or 700 people in the room. But that happens partly because you have a board of directors who's making decisions, but at the end of the day, we're making decisions. Janice and Nicole and the headquarters staff are the ones actually doing the work, and they don't get enough credit. And I want to make sure that they get recognized. It has been a pleasure to work with them over the last few weeks, especially, but all the way through the last year as the president, as a member of the board of directors. And if you have the opportunity, give them a pat on the back, because if this meeting is coming together as well as it has, in addition to the program committee, in addition to the chairs, it is because of their tireless work. And tireless, I mean like getting emails from Janice at 1 a.m. Central Time. As we're still hacking on stuff and getting things out the door and that sort of thing. So big shout out to them. Member of the Year is an award given for a significant contribution to the organization over a period of time. And I cannot think of a more appropriate period of time than the last year and a half. As we mentioned at the beginning of this, it has been a challenging period for the NWA, for our members, for the world we live in. And one of the things, as you know, if you've, again, been plugged into anything, is that the annual meeting, in addition to being a huge opportunity for us to get together, to have the hallway conversations and the bar conversations and the pool conversations and everything else that make our science go, that make what we do possible. And in addition to being a key way that we share the science that we do, the discoveries that we make, that we share it with each other and the world. It is also a huge part of how the NWA funds its operation over the course of the year. And as such, it's got to happen. We got to have a meeting, whether it's in person or virtual or not. And as you know, last year we had to, in fairly short order, pivot from meeting here in Tulsa in this very room to having a completely online meeting in a way that had never been done before for a meeting of this size. Virtual meetings have been done before, even in weather, but this was the largest one of these that we tried so far. And there are hundreds of people, it feels like, that are involved in doing this, from attendees to presenters to folks who are actually, on the ground doing it. It takes a village, but that village needs a mayor, needs a board of directors to sort of guide the village in the work that they do. And for this year's Members of the Year Awards, it is my distinct honor to recognize Matt Alto from AccuWeather, Betsy Kling from WKYC-TV, Becca Mazer from the National Weather Service, and Wendy Sellers from the National Weather Service for their role in their leadership of the team that enabled us to not only pivot to an entirely virtual meeting, but to do it and to have the highest attendance of any meeting in NWA history last year in the midst of a global pandemic and in the midst of everything that we talked about at the beginning of this meeting. It is my distinct honor. Matt, Betsy, Becca, and Wendy, congratulations. You are the National Weather Association's 2021 Members of the Year. I have to tell you, if Matt and Wendy look surprised, it's because they are. Matt wasn't able to join the meeting this year, and we had to sort of hoodwink both him and Wendy into a separate Zoom link so that we'd be able to see them and give them this award. Congratulations to all four of you. Before we wrap up, I do want to have an opportunity for any of the in-person folks, if you want, or for Matt and Wendy to offer any comments either on this award or on any of the other awards. Jim, Ariel, if you guys want to come up and give any comments. I know Ariel wanted to, and we'll go in that order. Ariel, and then Jim, Betsy, if you want to give any comments, and then we'll do Member of the Year comments here at the end, and then we'll wrap it up. So Ariel, if you want to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. ARIEL Cohen, and I'm the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Pueblo, Colorado. This award is associated with a tremendous amount of importance to both myself and Pete. This particular award really speaks to the amount of collaboration and support that we both have experienced, as well as many individuals who have joined us in developing the training, the various workshops, experiential education endeavors that we have implemented and shared across the National Weather Service in order to enhance the convective service delivery across the agency. It truly takes a team of individuals, and I want to thank all of those who have been so supportive in all of our training initiatives that we've developed. As Nate mentioned, it truly takes a team, a village, in order to accomplish something great. What we're really most proud of is watching the National Weather Service not only embrace all of the trainings, teachings, workshops, experiential education that we've offered, but translating this into messaging that's more complete and detailed, longer lead time, targeted, actionable, and addressing a wider array of potential scenarios in order to make improvements to protecting life and property and supporting a weather-ready nation. On behalf of all of those who have contributed to the mesoscale environment analysis course and all of the training leading up to that and various workshops, it's my honor to accept the award this evening. Also, I want to say it's really cool. My first National Weather Service office I ever worked at about 20 years ago is Tulsa, Oklahoma. And first of 8 weather service officers. My first MIC ever was Steve Piltz there, sitting right over there. Steve was inspirational to me in terms of all of my passion for mesoscale analysis. And it's a real honor to have you sitting here today watching me receive this award as the MIC of Pueblo. So thank you very much for all the support.
All I can say is this is going to be practice for tomorrow, because I'm going to give a talk tomorrow about the Rack in the Workshop cloud, as we call it, the Rack in the Cloud workshop. And it's been an awesome experience, I'll tell you that much. All I can say is that I'm the messenger, and the real team that did the work is back in Norman. And not just in Norman, but we're spread out all over the place too. We got instructors in Omaha and in Plano, Texas, and actually here in Tulsa. I wanted to say that Bobby Prentice is here in Tulsa, as well as Steve Corfidi. And so I want to give my hats off to the team that really put this thing together, and it's just been an awesome compilation and convergence of fortunate circumstances that allowed us to pull this off. I would say that the amount of work hours, the amount of weekends spent, after work, evenings, all the issues that have come up when you're talking about the connection from the student through a central server to the web services to the instructors, and trying to manage all that. I really put my hats off to all of them that put this together, because really it's absolutely critical that we do this workshop. Every forecaster in the Weather Service goes through this. In fact, some of you might be here, some of you might actually be taking RAC in the near future. There's one right there. So all I can say is you're in for an experience. And for those of you that have taken the RAC in the past, it's open again. You can always come by again and take the experience again. So down the road, though, we do have a little bit of backlog, though, and we have to get through that first. So hopefully we'll be in person sometime soon, and we'll see you again.
It's not often I'm speechless. Nate experienced that when he called me, and I just like, I'm gonna start to cry because that's what I do. This really means a lot. I hate ugly crying, sorry. But Becca's here too, and it was so stressful last year, but major shout outs to Matt and Wendy for all that they did. They really, it was a major pivot, and Becca, you're gonna have to talk too, because just to show that appreciation to them was incredible. As I'm hearing Nate talk about member of the year and the lead up and everything, I'm like, oh, it's Laricos all the way, right? Laricos was the one who really got us through, and I can't stress that enough. Todd Laricos, just his leadership as president of the NWA last year and the year before was everything in helping us to get through that, and just to be able to lean on him. So I know the four of us, get the plaque, which is insane, but it was such a huge team effort for sure. Yeah, and that member of the year is, that's my second time. It's just crazy. So back up, please.
All right. Yeah, this is a complete honor, and I'm so humbled. I'm going to try not to cry as well, but
I already lost it back there, so we'll try to keep it together. I couldn't have done the work that I did without my amazing team of people, the ad hoc committee that we threw together very short term to figure out, can we even do this? How do we do this? We wanted to so badly. This was last year. But under the circumstances, like, how do we do this? And, you know, meanwhile, I'm sick with something, COVID maybe, likely, yes, but I don't know. So, but the main goal was, how do we do this? And my incredible team on the ad hoc committee, and as Betsy said, Todd Laricos and his leadership was of directing us to what his idea was and whatnot, and us being able to come forth and make it happen very successfully. And I'm so proud of my team, that way, my ad hoc committee from last year, and to see how it progressed to this year, some of the ideals that we brought forth, having it work again this year, and even more so, like the hybrid meeting that we have right now and how successful this is going so far. Huge shout out to Janice and Nicole again, and the social media committee for making, you know, all of this happen. We could not have done it without you all. So thank you. I love this organization from the bottom of my heart. I'll be in it till the day I die, probably. So thank you so much.
You guys have to understand, this says Broadcaster Foe of the Year. I'm like, yeah, Broadcaster Foe of the Year, right? Okay, I got it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's give another round of applause to our award winners and everybody. With that, we'll wrap up our awards presentation back down here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for our final day together, and our final day, 10 a.m. Central Time for everybody who's attending virtually. I want to thank everybody who's here in person. Again, we pivoted. We asked a lot of you in the last little bit there before coming here, and I've been really, really happy about the response, and really proud of everybody just sort of rolling with the changes and doing what we've asked, and keeping everybody safe. We really appreciate that. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Don't drink too much tonight. Bye.
Congratulations to all the 2021 NWA Award winners. A few reminders. The award nomination window is always open, though we typically place the yearly deadline in spring. So if you were ever inspired by an individual or group and want to recognize their efforts, please fill out a nomination form anytime during the year. Nominations will be considered for 3 years. And lastly, please keep in mind that the awards committee does not nominate, you do. This year's annual meeting theme is about connecting communities through discovery and service. And this is also accomplished by recognizing achievements throughout the weather industry and related sciences. So please keep connecting and recognizing those who have shown exceptional leadership, innovation, and dedication. Thank you so much.